Red for Computer Science 156, Fall 20 at UC Santa Barbara. In this video, I'm going to show the process of fixing the test case coverage for a story that I've already completed. This story was one to add an option to do a search of courses that's actually based not on hitting the UCSB Developer API, but searching the archived course data from MongoDB. And we have the story pretty much working at this point, but there's still some test case coverage that needs to happen. So here is how we, first of all, just check the test case coverage. First, we check it for the front end and the back end separately. So here I am at the top level of the repo. You can see that I'm here inside the top level directory, and I'm going to type maven clean test jacoco report -d skip npm. So let's look at each part of this. Maven clean says we want to start from scratch. We're going to do a complete recompile of the application. We're going to run all the test cases. We're going to do a test case coverage report. And since we're focused on the back end, we can skip all the front end processing and it will go a lot faster. So I'll first run this and just let this cook for a minute. Meanwhile, let me go ahead and open a second terminal window here, and we'll go to the same directory. And in this window, we'll cd into the JavaScript directory. And we'll do an npm, first an npm test to make sure that all the tests are actually passing. We'll use the A command to run all tests. And all the tests are passing, so I will quit out of that and then do npm run coverage. Let that cook. Meanwhile, let's come back and look at the front end. So in the front end, we ran that command to get the test case coverage report. And the file we want to open is target site jacoco index.html. And what we see is that under the controllers package and the documents package, we have some work to do. It looks like it's entirely a history search controller, and it's this basic search, which makes sense. This is one of the things that we added in this story. So we're going to need to do some test coverage for the history search controller. And let's see what else. We're also going to need to do some test coverage for the CoursePage document, which is another class that we added. Let's start with the CoursePage document because that one is a little bit easier. So the CoursePage document is a basic plain old Java object. And if I go and bring that up, that is going to be under source main courses documents, and here it is, coursepage.java. So this is an object that we made using the Sohib code generators. We typed in just these 4 lines of code right here, and all of the rest of this was generated for us. And I'm going to generate it over again to show what that looks like. If I do the Java generator GUI, I have all of these fields selected. I do generate all. After I do generate all, I'm going to look through here and see what I got. I got a default constructor, a constructor with arguments, getters and setters for page number, page size, total, and then get and set classes. And then I also got these so-called fluent setters. These are the ones that return the course page object. We're going to delete these. They're handy, but they're kind of a pain to write tests for, so we're going to just get rid of those. Here I have an equals, and this equals is done using this style. We're going to change the style of the equals to make it easier to test. I've got Hashcode and I've got Tostring. So we're in good shape there, and we can see that as far as VS Code is concerned, we didn't really make any significant changes. Looks like there's one line here that might have been deleted, and it was a blank, it was a white space. So the Sohib code generator generated exactly the same code as we had before, and now it's just a matter of testing it. So it turns out all of the courses under documents are similar classes. All the classes that were, most of the code is generated by the CHEB code generators. So what we can do is look in one of these and look at the equals method. This one uses equals builder, and that's the style of equals that we want to use. So I'm going to copy the code. We'll use that as a template over here, and we'll go under equals. And we'll paste that in and just reformat that to use as our template. So the first check, if O equals this, return true, is exactly the same. The second one, if not O instance of CoursePage, return false, exactly the same. Just we need to make this one say CoursePage instead of course. So we've dealt with that part. Now this part, CoursePage equals basically just a typecast. That's going to be the same, so we'll paste that in. So it's only the code from here down that we're going to change. Basically just this line, that we're going to turn it into this equals builder, builder.append, and builder.build. So what the old code does is it goes member by member. Because page number is an integer, it uses just the double equals and double equals and double equals, and then objects.equals. What we're going to do instead is we're going to do builder.append, and we're going to do page number and c.get page number, and then we're going to append page size and c.get page size, and we will continue like this for each of the attributes. We've got page number, total. So we'll do append total and get total, and then .append, and I think we missed a parentheses there. There we go. .append, and the last one is classes and get classes. So classes and and we needed the c dot. Otherwise, we will be comparing this object with itself, which is of no use. C.get classes. All right, so the reason that this matters is that doing it this way with equals builder does, we need to import that. So we'll import that. That we've used C down here, so we should change this. Actually, let's use CP for CoursePage and change each of these to CP. CP and CP. There we go. Nope, not CPU feature. CP. Thank you, VS Code. Okay. So now we can get rid of those lines, and we've got a good equals. So the reason we do this is that the other way of doing it, you've got this long Boolean. You have condition and condition and condition and condition. And doing the branch coverage on that, you have to end up writing lots and lots of tests. Whereas this style of equals, 4 tests and you're done. So I'd much rather write 4 tests than like 20 tests. So this is a better choice. And I want to thank Scott Chow, the TA, for pointing us in this direction. All right, so now that we've fixed the equals method on this, we're ready to start making our tests. And if we go down on the documents here under main, there's a documents under tests as well. And you can see that there's course tests. So what we're going to want is course page tests.java. And if we look in course tests, we will see that the very first test is one called test getters and setters. And we are going to put the same one in ours. Basically, anytime you've got a Java bean, which is a class that has a default constructor and getters and setters that match the normal naming convention, that's a Java bean, you can just use Java bean tester, say the name of the class, CoursePage, and it will basically write tests for you for everything except, basically everything that's a sort of a normal scalar object. It doesn't work on array list or collections, but it works on string, it works on integer, it works on int, and so forth. So the one part of CoursePage that it won't work on is the classes member, because it's a list. It'll work on everything else. Now, maybe what I should do is show you what happens when we just run this without adding in, because what we're going to end up doing is doing this to say that the classes data member is one that can't be tested with this Java Bean. But let me show you the error message you get when you just run it with this. And Java Bean tester we need to import, so we'll import that. We also need to import test. And when you import test, be sure that you import test from org JUnit Jupyter API and not org JUnit. The Jupyter one is the newer version of JUnit, and it turns out that if you do the old one, you'll get some weird errors and bugs that are hard to debug, and the solution is just to make sure that you've got the right import for test. Okay, so now we have a test class, and we've got one test that should test all the getters and setters. However, I expect that this will fail because it will tell us that it can't test the list. So let's try it. We're going to do maven clean test, and this time we're just going to run the test without Jacoco report, and we don't need the clean anymore. And let's see what we get, because I think what we're going to get is a failed test, and the failed test will be that one that we've added. Now, I'm running the entire test suite, which is kind of long and annoying when I know especially when I've only changed one test file. So one optimization here is if I do -d test equals, and I tell it CoursePage tests. I don't even have to put .java, just CoursePage tests. Then it will run just the tests in that one file, and it should be a lot faster, and my cycle time will be a lot faster. Okay. What you see here is that this test getters and setters, where I'm trying to test all the getters and setters for this class, the error message I got is unable to build an instance of class JavaUtilList. Please add some code to the Java Bean tester class to do this. Well, that's an idea. We could add some tests to Java Bean tester, but we're not going to do that today. We're going to use the Java Bean tester just as it is. What we're going to do instead is the elements in CoursePage that is a list is classes. So I'm just going to take the name of that. I'm going to come back over here to CoursePage tests. I'm going to add that as a second parameter and run this test again. And this is where using the -d test equals and then the name of your class. Okay, so now this runs. And now if I do maven test Jacoco report, and this time I want to run the whole test suite because I want to see the Jacoco report. What I want to show you is that just this one test is testing all of our getters and setters. So that is super handy. But if we want the Jacoco report, we have to run the entire test suite. So we'll run the entire test suite again, and then open up that Jacoco report again. And that is open target site Jacoco index.html. And if we look in documents and look in CoursePage, you'll see all of our getters and setters were covered except for the get classes and set classes. That one we have to do ourselves. So fine. If we look over in course tests, I think we will see, here's an example of a test that looks just like that. It's working on a list of something, so we will borrow that test and adapt it to our purposes. So test, get, and set class section. This is actually going to be get and set classes. And course is a new course, but actually in this case we're testing a course page. So CP equals new course page. And then we're going to make a list course and call it courses. That'll be a new array list, of course. As a reminder, you can't do new list course because list is an interface. You cannot instantiate an interface. You can only instantiate a class. But array list is a class that implements a list, so we can instantiate that. We will tell it that we want a new array list of course. And we will get rid of this, which is what happens when you try to instantiate a list. It tries to make you can instantiate an interface if you basically implement all of the abstract methods, but that's kind of annoying. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to make a list course. Now it's complaining because we have to do the imports. So I will let VS Code make the hint. No quick fix available. What? Now, oh, see, it tried to do Antler collections list, which is not the list we want. We want Java util list. And while we're at it, we'll go ahead and import Java util array list as well. There we go. All right, so now sections, that's because this should be courses, and this should be set courses. Or is it classes? I think it's classes. Is it classes? Let's see. What is the variable? It is indeed classes. All right. So this should be test get and set classes. So set classes. And this will be courses. And this will be classes. Okay. So we made a new course page. We made an array list of courses. We set the classes equal to that. This needs to be CP for a course page. And then we said, let's make sure that once we've set it, that is the same. Assert equals is coming up. We'll take the quick fix, which is the static import for assert equals. We don't need these imports, so we will get rid of them. This import util array list would look nicer next to the other one. And now I think we're in good shape. So let's actually just get rid of all the white space here in our imports. Okay, so that's for get and set classes. And we'll go ahead and run the test in the Jacoco report again and hopefully see that we're making good progress on our test coverage. I can anticipate that what's going to be needed next is going to be the asserts for equals. So this test not equal to null, not equal to another class, equals self, and equals another, these are the standard 4 tests that we need for testing the equals method. So we will put those in right here. And let's step through those. So we want course page. Now what I sometimes will do here is I will just go through and do a search and replace. You have to be a little bit careful with this because you can sometimes end up changing things you didn't intend to change. So it's good to go through one by one rather than doing just a replace all. But that course definitely should become course page, as should that one and that one. Pretty much. Now, see, this is where, like, set course page ID, that does not make any sense to change. So we'll skip over that one, but that one makes sense. That one makes sense. Not that one. This one, yes. This one, yes. Not that one. And there we go. So we now have, and we skipped this one, so let's fix that. For here, I think we'll fix these by hand. So course page CP equals new course page. We want to assert that that is not null. We need the import for that static import, so we'll get that. So now we've got the static imports for assert equals and assert not equals. We are going to come down here. So we set up a course page. We probably should set some content on it. So let's do c.set. And there are 4 things we can set. We can set the total. And the total, but you know what, we have, we could do all these sets separately, but I think we have a constructor that will do all these at once. If I recall, I think we kept that constructor in place. Yes, so we can set all these together. So we'll just do, we'll take these these four right here, and we'll go into our test for CoursePage, and we will paste that in so we can see what we need to set. We'll set the page number to 1, the page size to 10, the total to 10, and then we'll have a list of classes, and we will just basically make a new array list course like that, and that will be our list of classes. So we can just pass that in right there. And if we do that, we've got a course page, and we want to make sure that that course page is equal to itself. We can use that same course page here and here, and we'll call this CP1 and CP2. And we no longer need these setters here, and we'll make sure that that page is equal to the other page. And let's see, I think let's just stop that. I think we've got this now. So in addition, this will give us some test case coverage of our constructor that takes 4 arguments, so that's helpful. We probably want to use CP all the way through here to be consistent, so let's change all of these. CP here, and CP here, and CP here, and CP1 and CP2. So that is how we test the equals methods. So let's try running our test case again. So it looks like here that ran fine, but let's do it again. And hopefully all of our tests pass. Then we'll check our test case coverage report. And we're probably done except for Hashcode and Tostring. We will do those next, and then we will have full test case coverage, at least for this class. We will still have to deal with our controller. All right, so let's check the Jacoco report. And we still have our controller to deal with. On the document, as I suggested, only Hashcode and Tostring to go. Hashcode is super easy. We'll go to one of these others, and we'll basically take the test for Hashcode. In fact, actually, we can probably even do better than that. If we take the test for equals, another, and just rename it as test Hashcode, then all we need to do is do cp1.hashcode, and we want that to be equal to cp2.hashcode. All right, so that's that test. Finally, let's take one of, we'll basically take this test, copy and paste it, and make it be a test for Tostring. We'll say test Tostring. We'll just construct one of these objects, and then we'll assert equals. And now I'm going to show you a cheat here for the Tostring. If we do cp1.Tostring, since the Tostring method in this case is not something we wrote by hand, it's something that was generated for us by the Sahib code generator, it's very likely in the form we want. So if I run this test will fail. So let me go back to, here we go. This is the version of running the test where I tell it to just run the test from this one file. So that should run real fast, and the test for Tostring will fail. But I can use the failure message. That is what it's expecting. So that is what I will give it. And that is how you cheat at writing the test for Tostring. Now, if we had written the Tostring by hand, this would be a terrible idea. But since the Tostring was generated for us, that's a perfectly reasonable way of writing the test. And then if we ever decide to change the Tostring method, if we need it to be in some other format, this test will fail, we can adjust the test and so forth. I think at this point I should be able to run the full test suite, and we should have full test coverage, I believe, except for our controller. So let's see how that looks. And I will open up wait for it to finish. And then I will open up the Jacoco report. And indeed, we have everything but the history search controller. We will do that in a separate video. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this video right here. We should also, in a separate video, do the front-end tests, but I think this is enough for one video. So thank you for watching, and more content